Russell Brand, critical thinking, independent-minded Russell Brand, interviewed interviewed Ron DeSantis. And it is the most pathetic softball interview. It's almost like Russell Brand is just sucking up to Ron DeSantis and Ron DeSantis loving it. I think that this is part of an effort to make Ron DeSantis seem more, cooler and hip they give him the microphone and they set up like a podcast studio and he's appearing now with Russell Brand. I am going to show you what a true sycophant interview looks like. Here is a fluff piece from Russell Brand opening by saying, the people of Florida just really seem to love you.
In Florida recently, I was struck by the amount of pride that Floridians have in their state. You appear to be universally endorsed by the population.
Not exactly. He did win, but there are millions of people in the state who voted against this guy.
Florida.
Well, I'm glad you noticed that. I was born and raised in Florida, and while I've always loved the state, we didn't have the same type of pride growing up that, say, people in Texas have about Texas.
Right. Something has changed. We've gone anti-woke. It's where pride goes to be born, but woke goes to die. Really hard-hitting questions, huh? Here's another hard-hitting question from Russell Brand, this time about how great of a speaker, a great orator or orator DeSantis is.
Now, what is evident, even after just this limited amount of time in your company, is that you are a competent orator, that you are a successful politician, that you are very appealing, that you've succeeded in Florida.
Succeeded at what exactly? Passing insane abortion bans, targeting specific private companies despite claiming to be against business regulation. What exactly is it that DeSantis has accomplished? Then they get on to, I guess, mildly more serious questions. And they talk a little bit about January 6th. And for now, on this issue, DeSantis continues to defend the failed former president, Donald Trump.
I wonder what you feel in particular about the protests around January the 6th.
Yes, feelings rather than facts.
Do you think that they were insurrectionists as described? Do you consider them to be protesters? What do you think about the subsequent funding that the Capitol Police received and how the Democrat Party in particular has used these events to enact more power and to control media spaces?
Right.
Well, I think it's ridiculous how much money that they pumped in for the Capitol Police. It was not an...
They're just pumping money.
Insurrection. These are people that were there to attend a rally, and then they were there to protest. Now, it devolved, and it devolved into a riot. But the idea that this was a plan to somehow overthrow the government of the United States is not true.
This is such a weird argument. It's like saying, listen, they were not there to kill anybody. They were there merely to do a little bit of pickpocketing and stuffing their pants full of stuff. But then all of a sudden, security showed up and people started yelling. And next thing you know, a few people were killed. But they were not there for that. They were there for the... Does it really matter if eventually they decide, those who choose to break the law, go inside and do the things that they did? Hey, maybe we can stop the certification. Why does it matter at what point that happened? Now, certainly when it comes to something like murder, intent is sometimes considered, but you're talking about a crime either way. Oh, I didn't mean to kill him. I only meant to punch him, and he fell and hit his head on the cement and died. For back home, I know of a story. It happened to someone I went to high school with. Okay, we're talking about different levels of crimes, but the excusing everything, it's wild.
And it's something that the media had spun up just to try to basically, get as much mileage out of it and use it for partisan and for political aims. And so I know there were a lot of people that were there who were just there.
They were just there.
They didn't have any designs on doing anything. And
well, most of those people have not actually been charged. The people that have been charged have been the ones for where there is actual evidence of criminality. One more clip from this just pathetic softball interview. Here is Ron DeSantis explaining how Elon Musk is just really great. What great journalism, huh?
Elon, so I think he understands the threats posed to a free society by woke ideology and by some of the other corporate consolidations of power. He's obviously very rich himself. Nevertheless, I like what he's done with Twitter, and he even floated maybe buying CNN.
There you go.
So hopefully if he did that, I bet you it'd probably be a little bit more reasonable by my lights.
There you go. And Russell Brand just enchanted by Ron DeSantis. You know, it would be a great thing for someone like Russell Brand to actually pin DeSantis down and say, hey, listen, your primary message has been one of anti-woke. Here are 5, 10 polls that show most of the country agrees with the so-called woke side, not the anti-woke side. Isn't this a short-sighted and poor strategy for actually winning a general election? What about the question of, hey, your criticisms of Trump have been extremely milquetoast and light touch. Are you trying to position yourself to suck up Trump supporters if Trump does himself in? And is that even really a winning strategy for the general election? What about, hey, the law you passed in Florida with regard to abortion is retrograde not only by American standards, it puts Florida in the dark ages globally when it comes to abortion, even compared to countries you would never consider our equal in your nationalist view. Isn't this an absolute disaster? Yeah, there are real questions that could be asked here. None of those questions were asked during this Russell Brand interview. And there are still people out there saying, no, Russell Brand is a great, even-handed, objective. You know, he's not in the tank for anybody. Glowing. Look at this smile. Just absolutely delighted. Truly pathetic stuff. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Approaching 2 million with your help, of course. 48 million Americans have some hearing loss. So if you or a loved one is struggling with hearing loss, you are certainly not alone. Only 1 in 5 people who would benefit from a hearing aid actually get a hearing aid. Our sponsor, MD Hearing, specializes in FDA-registered rechargeable hearing aids at a fraction of the cost. Marked up hearing aids at an in-person hearing clinic can cost up to $10,000. At MD Hearing, you'll pay just $300. They perform incredibly well. I have a family friend who's tried a variety of hearing aids. She recently switched to MD Hearing, couldn't be happier, loves them. You take their free online hearing test. Their world-class team of licensed audiologists will advise you how to set up your device. Your audiologist is there to provide ongoing support by video call or text. And MD Hearing's new model, the Neo, is their smallest hearing aid ever. No one will even know it's there. Simply go to mdhearing.com, use the code PACMAN to get any pair of hearing aids for just $150 each. They will throw in a free charging case. The link is down below.